shout out to Boxing Bros UK. Cheers, bro. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. This is Boxing Bros UK here. I am the boss, Chris. This is my co-host, Andrew, the Boxing Brain. The topic of the day is, how are we going to stop the Tom and Jerry fights? And, well, how is Turki Al-Sheikh going to save us and stop these Tom and Jerry fights, as he says? So,
that's it in a nutshell.
Eloquently.
Kick this off, and then the tweets, and Chris is going to pull a load of stuff up, is after the Times Square card. That was a big crossover event, people, when it's going to bring casuals in. We had some good matchup, Ronnie Romero, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, and it stank the place out. It was awful.
The Lopez card, the fight, that was the first one, weren't it, on the Times Square? It was okay, bit of showboating, they were throwing hands. It was an all right fight, not the best. Then we had Devin Haney versus Ramirez. Here it is. Here's the official CompuBox card that they posted on Twitter from their website. Ramirez combined to throw just 503 punches. This is the fourth fewest punches in CompuBox history for a 12-round fight. Haney, first round, threw 12 punches, landed 2. Second round, threw 20 punches, landed 3. It's just like abysmal. He was like a scared rabbit. Anyway, if that's not even worse, yeah. So after that fight, we have Garcia, yeah. So this is the fourth worst, fewest punches thrown in boxing history of 40 years of CompuBox doing these stats. Rolly Romero versus Ryan Garcia.
Same card.
Same card. It was the fight that was on after this fight. And guess what they did? They went one better. Romero pulls off the huge upset, dropping Garcia and outworking him all fight. 45 of Romero's 57 punches landed were body shots. Their combined punches thrown for this fight was 490. They were the third fewest thrown for a 12-round fight in CompuBox history of 40 years. So basically, they broke the record and became fourth in the first fight.
Yeah.
He's beat their fourth place and gone third.
Garcia Romero thought, do you know what? Let's go one better. And people, you think that it gets even better or worse?
The final one. The final card. It wasn't on this card, but this is Canelo Alvarez versus William Score. This fight took place on the Saturday, the day after.
Oh, what a fight.
And Canelo Alvarez, he is pound for great, legend of the game. So what does he do? Smashes it out the water. Canelo gets the win, but it wasn't pretty as they combined to throw 445 punches. This is the fewest punches thrown in a 12-round fight in CompuBox history. This Canelo fight was the worst fight with the fewest punches thrown in CompuBox history for 40 years. That fight there, no one's beat that record yet. 445 punches is the worst.
No.
So Canelo
fighters
not only was undisputed best super middleweight, he's also the worst person for throwing punches.
And let's say on the back of that, Bruce, as well. Like Canelo, look, he was plodding around like an old man in there. Like, I hope there's something left going into the Crawford fight. I really do. William Skull was awful. He was the main contributor of that, wasn't he? Right? We'll have it right. Of course he was. He was awful. He was just survival mode. And it has been with a few Canelo fights over the last few years anyway. People have these cherry picked. They've not really come to fight. Canelo, let's be real, he could have closed the ring off more. He was plodding. He looked like a sort of geriatric man with injuries, just sort of staggering around. So you got to call a spade as well and say Canelo did play his part in that. He didn't. What Beterbiev would have gone in there and just cut the ring off as much as possible. Yeah. And when Canelo, and I don't want to repeat myself from previous videos, when Canelo did have him in range on the ropes and in the corner, he just kept resetting, Chris, didn't he? He kept resetting and allowing Skull to run. So we do have to.
I'll get them stats up again, yeah, because this is what I found interesting about the Canelo. So this is the thing, yeah, how Canelo was quite lucky to win the fight. Round 1, yeah, Canelo threw 4 punches and landed none.
Yeah,
and Skull threw 20 punches and landed 1.
Yeah.
So he had to have won that round because Canelo didn't land anything. Round 2, Canelo threw 13 punches, landed 5. Skull threw 28 and landed 4. It's just abysmal. But like, if you look through the whole card, Skull actually outlands Canelo. He actually outlands him at times.
Can't have Canelo the A. Look, Canelo deserved to win it because Skull was just so negative, but you can't have the A side losing that fight, can you? You know, especially going into the Crawford. You know, again, we're just calling it out. That's the politics. And I want to add this as well. Martin Bakole, before all this going out, spending his money, shopping in Dubai, doing all, living the life, thinks he's made it already. I wanted to do a video on that. Anyway, that's another video. When Bakole was, you know, kind of Anderson, pre-Anderson, as a heavyweight, as an 18, 19 stone man, he was throwing 50, 60, 70, up to, I think he's one of the third, correct me if I'm wrong, he might be the third best heavyweight of all time for punches thrown. So if a 19 stone man can throw volume as a heavyweight, right, what business of these guys got? All these smaller, all these guys, right, welterweights, super welters, lightweights, super middleweights, not throwing any punches. Why? What for? I've been trying to entertain.
I'll tell you what for, because they're fucking lazy. Do you know that's why? Because obviously he's achieved so much, and the talent's not really out there to challenge him in his division, and he doesn't dare move up again because he got smoked last time he moved up. Light heavyweight was too much of a jump, so he's in that mindset where, look at my resume, look how much money I've got. I am fucking Canelo. So if you're not going to come and fight me, I can't be asked because I ain't going to lose no decisions. So if you want to play them silly games, I'm just going to have an easy night and throw 5 punches around and go home to my $50 million. I'm not going to overexert myself. Why should I? And for me, I hate that attitude. Like, look at Jay Opataya, He's a world champion, he's Ring Magazine champion. He can't get a fight because they're all shithouses in his division. They don't want to fight him. They're all ducking him.
He needs to move up to heavyweight, doesn't he?
Is he just going through the motions when he's fighting his people? No. He's destroying them and looking good. He's still taking his fight seriously. He's not getting complacent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, good points. This brings us on to fan backlash because of that weekend. We did a whole video. Check out our video with Matthew Pomora from Ring. I think he done a publication on Ring Magazine, and we go into this called the Mayweather effect. A lot of modern fighters trying to mirror damage limitation, you know, and wanting to kind of earn as much money as possible and receiving as less damage as possible. Look, I get the sweet science, hit and not be hit, but it's also an entertainment sport. So the fan backlash, and Turkey as well, was not best pleased. And I think this brings us on to that, doesn't it, Chris? The next bit.
Firstly, for Times Square, I just want to defend Turkey. They were like, well, you already did it. They were all great fights. On paper, they were all fucking great fights.
They were.
Tune-up fights. They weren't supposed to be anything to be stressed or worried about. They were great fights. And
decent opponents as well.
The fighters, decent opponents. The fighters are the ones who fucked it up. I don't know. We've already done videos on it loads. I'll probably attach them to the end of this one with laziness, scared, not got their head in the game, not a fighter mentality, just being lazy, just being absolutely, what can I describe it? Scared of their own shadows, going into sparring mode, not giving value for money for the fans. And Turki Al-Sheikh was pissed because he just shelled out much money. Do you know how much it costs to rent New York, anywhere in New York? You know all your Marvel films, that are filmed in New York, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, they film in London. Because it's cheaper to film in London, and they put signs up to make it look like New York. That's how expensive it is to hire anywhere out in New York that Marvel Studios can't even afford to do it. It's cheaper to hit. So Turki Al-Sheikh hired it all out, and they did that to him. So he put these tweets out. From this point on, I don't want to see any more Tom and Jerry type boxing matches where one fighter is running around the ring and the other is chasing him. We can longer support these kind of fights. I think he meant we can no longer support these kind of fights. With the Rider season and the Ring magazine, we want to support fighters who leave it all in the ring and fight with heart and pride.
Absolutely.
Fucking said. Said. There's one thing I just want to say here that I am not liking at all. People are trying to say that Turki Al-Sheikh's bad for boxing and he's racist because all the fighters that run up and do this Floyd Mayweather hit without getting hit style, they're all black. And that is absolutely bullshit. Absolutely. It's just, I hate it when people bring it down to race like this. He's a runner. He's white. Tyson Fury, he's a runner. He was running away from Usyk all fucking night, backing up in the second fight. He's white.
And Garcia, Mexican, like, you know.
Yeah. Garcia, and he just kind of went into sparring mode. But there's loads of white fighters that run as well. And there's quite a few black fighters. He gave him a chance to fight on the ring.
Nothing to do with race. It's coincidence. If it just so happens to be more white fighters, it's a quick. If it just so happens to be more people of color, more black people, it's purely coincidence. It's got what a ridiculous statement to make.
And then now you've got other people saying the opposite. Turki Al-Sheikh doesn't like white fighters, and that he's really, really too cozy with Anthony Joshua because he's shit. He's too cozy with Wilder, always giving him chances. He's too cozy with Crawford when he moving him up 2 weight classes to fight. He's a boxing. Imagine if you're a boxing fan, but you're a billionaire at the same time. That's what Turki Al-Sheikh is. Yeah.
People forget. He's a massive boxing fan.
Massive boxing fan.
Like, he rings Eddie Earn up all the time, apparently, talk about ideas. He's obsessed. So that you've got to give him some credit there. Like he loves the sport. And he is a man. He has favourites, and he doesn't hide it. But he's fair. Tyson Fury was his favourite. AJ, one of his favourites. Terence Crawford, he likes Terence Crawford, even though because Terence Crawford doesn't make any money unless he fights in his hometown. But because of how much of an incredible boxer he is, and Turki Al-Sheikh's got the money, he's not buying him because he's black. He's doing it because he's a two-time undisputed champion, 2 weight classes undisputed, and now he's going for his 3rd. Turki Al-Sheikh wants to make that happen, and it's good for boxing. It's not nothing to do with race, and I hate people. If I see any of that race shit in the comments, I'm going to block you and delete you because it's nothing to do with race. Yeah, no, well said. And I suppose the good thing is with this is that with those stinkers we spoke about early on, Garcia, Romero, will come on later in the video to Catterall, Eubank as well, is that Turki Al-Sheikh, it will be less likely they'll get on a Riyadh card, a big card with him for big money because of the performances. So some of these performances are now coming to backfire on them and bite them on the bum because they won't get potentially as many opportunities moving forward. So that's the one saving grace for this. He won't want to book them, will he?
Exactly. Like, the fighters don't always run. Like Haney, he runs like a coward. Terrible. But Shakur Stevenson, he doesn't really run. He's just really, really, really good. And he doesn't really hit that hard. He doesn't really run like he steps around you. He moves. He might step back, but he's not doing what Haney's does and like legging it fucking around the ring like a fucking maniac.
And he's fighting soon, Chris, Shakur Stevenson. So it'd be interesting to see if he tries to be more aggressive because it's in his mind.
Yeah. Well, he does try and be more aggressive sometimes, but I think where he wins and it's a shutout, people get bored, start booing, and he doesn't put his foot on the gas sometimes.
It's not his fault. He needs a dance partner that can pick it on him more and put educated pressure on him and take him into deep water. But there's been nobody that's been able to do that yet.
There's one person, but he's an absolute shithouse, and he just tank. He's scared of his own. He's not scared of his own shadow. He is scared to lose that. He will not go any fight where he could lose, where it's 50-50.
You know what it is with that fight as well? I think Tank knows that Shakur Stevenson, because that'll be in a brilliant defence versus good offence, but I think the defence will come out on top. I don't think Tank will bring anything that Shakur Stevenson can't deal with. I think Tank knows it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I'm me. No, but the thing is, I think Tank's like, he knows that about anything. I don't think Tank's overrated. He's really exciting. Got a Mayweather-ish promoter. Got a bit of the Mayweather. He's like Mayweather skills, but he's got a wilder power. Like a little guy, but he never tested himself against anybody. And they only wanted to fight Lomachenko when Lomachenko was retired and on the way out. When you was in your prime and you was a champion, you didn't want to unify with Lomachenko. You didn't want to unify with Haney. You didn't want to unify. You don't want to fight Shakur Stevenson. He is an absolute joke, and he's wasted his boxing career. And now all he does now is cry and say that he wants to fight Jake Paul. Begging Jake Paul for a fight. That's all he's doing. And he's boxing. Never liked him.
Because it's wanting to get. It comes down to this theory I've got that they're wanting to get a lot of these new age fighters, TikTok generation fighters. I use that description quite a lot. Are wanting to get maximum money for as less danger as possible, and I think it puts a real kind of downer on boxing as a whole. You know, the 90s era, the 70s great era of real fighters going to war, going out on their shield.
Yeah,
you know, and it really does. But I suppose
before I play that clip,
yeah,
if you're gonna do it just completely for the money, yeah, if you're gonna turn down a title shot because for the more money, and it's not about being a world champion, at least be like Conor Ben and go out on your shield. Anthony Kikachi, go in there, throw hands, knock the geezer out at least. Don't go in there because you're getting more money and fucking jack and run around the ring like a scared little mouse and do nothing when people are paying their good money. Turkey's paying these good money, and it's like you only got yourself to blame. You get no sympathy from the fans. Just get terrorized.
Johnny Fisher, Dave Allen. I know they're not getting the same kind of money, right? But Johnny Fisher would have earned, earned mega money at that point of the most money Dave Allen would have got. But they had those two fights were what, Chris? Entertaining, value for money, pay-per-view worth. No, I know there weren't pay-per-views, but worth your subscriptions.
Yep.
Working class people paying good money want to be entertained.
You want to watch it again. This is the absolute problem. It's ruining boxing, man. It's Terence Crawford and Canelo press conference. So someone asks Turkey about the Tom and Jerry fights, and he had this to say.
Many times now that you don't want any more of these Tom and Jerry fights where one fighter is chasing the other one. What is your plan to kind of stop these fights?
We will not have him anymore. This is the first thing. The second, we will have in this fight and the next fight bonus for KO. I need to mention why we choose Netflix. Netflix is the big platform. Second, if you ask about the numbers of the subscriber and the pay-per-view, let's see the record. In that time, in 2015, 2013, the internet and the piracy was not like now. Now is the best options to go with the big platform, and I think this fight we will have the big record around the world, and we will show the world what is real boxing. Especially Netflix, we will show them what is the real boxing.
Especially after the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson debacle. I reckon that's a reaction to that as well.
Yeah. I just want to pause it there as well. So I think as well, what he's saying there is, because this fight's free. It's not pay-per-view, is it?
It's on your subscription, yeah.
So what he's trying to say is, like, everyone's got Netflix. So what Netflix, what he's trying to do here is what DAZN set out to do in the first place. Yeah. Remember, we're going to be the Netflix of boxing. No more pay-per-views. Well, guess what? Netflix is going to be the Netflix of boxing now.
How ironic and weird is that?
Now Netflix is going to be the Netflix of boxing because everyone in the whole world has got Netflix. Everybody. So everyone's going to watch this fight. So
and
there's all the money made.
Half of entry, Chris. £4.99 for your lowest entry fee. We've had £5 a month, and you've got Crawford, Canelo, two of the pound for pound modern greats of the game, of the sport. £5.
You can't say. I do feel, and like DAZN, they want to watch their back. I do think that he's still going to work with DAZN doing Ring magazine cars and stuff. I do think this is a one-off. But if boxing don't fix up, it could end up turning out where I think Dana White and Turkey are going to use Netflix for their
How much are we paying for it? £15 a month. Yeah, come on, DAZN, sort it out.
Yeah.
Sort it out. Come on.
But I do think that Turkey and Dana are going to use DAZN, set up their boxing league, and the sanctioning bodies are going to fuck off. If something don't change, we're going to be watching boxing on Netflix. Pay-per-view is going to go on. It's all going to be a crazy world. But anyway, so Crawford rebuts what Turkey Al-Sheikh says.
You heard His Excellency saying no more Tom and Jerry, no more running, but you're moving up 2 weight classes. It's not going to be smart for you to stand there and hammer it out with this guy. So how do you kind of balance that, not running, but being elusive in fighting Canelo?
However I got to fight, I'm going to win. Simple as that. I'm not going to let somebody else force me or tell me how to fight when I've been fighting my whole life. I won't be running, I could tell you that. But I will be, doing a lot of touching.
Well, you
don't... A lot of touching.
So basically, He's gonna stick a move.
Yeah, that's what I read.
Just gonna touch him up, and then step around. But obviously, he is moving up. I don't mind, but he's not like Crawford's not gonna run. Like people forget, Crawford knocked out every single man he faced at 147, including Errol Spence for undisputed.
Yeah.
So just because they're not, he didn't knock out Matchroom off, but he won it convincingly. Just moved up to 154. Been out the ring for a while, so. You know, don't judge him too harshly. And
the argument with Crawford, chuck this in. This is a bit controversial, right? Because I love Crawford, but the argument against him is he's never really fought anyone in their prime. You know, I mean, Errol Spence after the car crash. You know, he's the one argument people have. I don't necessarily. I think that's a little bit unfair, but that is the kind of. And Canelo said that as well, didn't he? You haven't fought anyone elite, like you've fought people that were good.
Yeah, but neither is he in the last 5 years.
No, true. I think Canelo's resumes are definitely better. But anyway, I wanted to chuck that out there because it's debatable, you know.
It is. Victor Postal was in his prime when he beat
Victor Postal. Well, Ricky Burns. He used Victor Postal, Ricky Burns, and look. Great lads, don't get me wrong, but probably not elite, right? If you're using Ricky Burns and Victor Post, Canelo's got Bivol, Kovalev, you know, Triple G, you know, it doesn't really...
Well, they're still good fighters. What I will say is they're still really, really good fighters. On the eye test, we've seen Crawford's skills. We've seen it. These fighters are good enough to let us see how absolutely amazing Terence Crawford is as a boxer. And
don't get me started.
He can switch hit. He can fight on the back foot. He can fight going forward. When he's down rounds, he can come and knock you out. We've seen Terence Crawford can do everything. We've seen it when he moved up to 154. When someone's moving around the ring like James Brown, like Michael Jackson, he can still hit them. When they're moving around, head movement, feinting, he still lands the punches that he needs to, not getting hit as much himself. So we've seen Crawford's got everything.
So this moves us on, Chris, to now. To be fair, the undercard was good. The undercard was good. Pat Brown, I think Cordina on there got a win, didn't he? The Matchroom relaunch, decent undercard, decent night. Rebrand, the big rebrand. I don't know if you've got some information to pull up. They want to, this is Eddie Hearn showing he's still got a bit of ambition because they've clearly been on a bit of a nosedive. And I kind of feel for them really because they're not desperate, but they're really trying to reinvigorate the brand. Decent undercard. And then Catterall and Eubank add to this whole problem of the Tom and Jerry's. Jerry and Jerry, I think is what Turkey said with this fight. But my other point, just on that, hold that thought. But also, if you're matchmaking this fight, Catterall, who I like, lead hand warrior, loves to fence that lead hand and run around, that's him. Harlem Eubank's like a club fighter. It's like a small hall fight. I'm trying to be fair. Very raw. That was always going to go that way. So who'd you blame for that? You got top of the bill, Catterall Eubank. I didn't really expect anything other than what I saw. So
we
take it away, Chris. Come back.
Styles make fights, yes. They've kind of got similar styles, but let's have it right. Harlem Eubank has never looked explosive or exciting in any fight he's ever had in his life. He's always gone 12 rounds, and they've always been like, he's just not very good. He's just all right. He's the kind of guy that is like good in his own town, but he ain't like world level. He ain't nothing. He's like a Southern area champion.
He's very ragged. There were levels, weren't there? There were levels in that fight. I know it was a weird stuff. They had the sort of the cut and the rest of it, and dance around like he'd won it and then demanded a rematch. That's the news today. But this goes back to the kind of core of this video is that again we have another one of these sort of middleweight and below, super middleweight and below of these fights that are kind of top of the bill, headlining, met a good British dust up. And it wasn't even Tom and Jerry, as Turkey said, Chris. This was like Jerry and Jerry. They're both running away. Running away.
If you didn't see the fight, I'm going to put some footage on, yeah? This is like, they were like scared rabbits. They were doing hula hoops like this with their arms together. This is what they were doing. This is what the fight was all night long. This is what this fight was all night long. What they're doing. I'll play it one more time.
What do you even say to that?
Honestly, I'll put the Tom and Jerry theme tune on there for a piss take. Do you know what I mean? But What is that?
I'll tell you what it is, mate. They're preparing for the Olympic fencing team at the next Olympics.
Hula hoops in their arms. Thing is, yeah, while they're both there, like making circles in thin air, why didn't one of them think, oh, why don't I use this hand to punch him while he's distracted, looking at my circles? And they were both there, like punching fresh air.
Keep him occupied. I'm keeping him occupied with my lead hand. Hang on a minute. And while I'm keeping him occupied, I'm gonna not throw a shot.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Like Jack Catterall, that's what he does, yeah. But at least he's accurate. But he's just I like Jack Catterall because when you go after him, he starts counter punching and he lets his hands go. He does all right, and he's very, very defensively astute. But when someone else is trying to be defensive and they're shit at it, they're just doing that, then running away and getting tagged, and they're just being terrible. It makes for an absolutely boring fight. They needed to Eddie Hearn, that was a terrible match, mate. Terrible. The styles
as well.
They should have let him fight Adam Azim and get knocked out by Adam Azim.
Do you know what that little footy? That's brilliant. Oh, that's so. I've got to do a short of that. You know what that reminded me of? You know, like back in there, you don't see it so much now because football's just sort of passing sideways, backwards, sideways, back. Pep Guardiola's ruined football. Everyone's just passing sideways. But you know when the guys are doing like the step overs, like they're doing all the skills, like step over, step up, and then never shoot. It's like Jesus Christ, you're going to do anything with the ball? Is there any? No end product. Cristiano Ronaldo, right? For me, the greatest player of all time, used to do all these step over, then go around the player again. It's like, you know, all the players got into him, Roy Keane, everyone said, right, brilliant, but you need an end product. Get it in the box or get a shot off. And it's the same thing. You're doing all this showboat. Fuck it, you got an end product, Chris.
What's the point in pouring a jab out there, fainting, and making him bite and not throwing? Because they were both fainting, and they were both like, it's like they were raving, like, ooh, like touching it. It's just like, it's just absolute. I was watching that, and I only watched the highlights, and I thought, what the fuck is this?
I know.
This is terrible.
I know Conor Ben was doing it a bit in the Eubank Junior fight, you know, and I remember Tony Sims said in the corner, didn't he, you know, started punching off those feints, but at least he was having a right go, closing the distance, he was throwing shots, and he was trying to, you know, he was trying to pressure Christian, and he was trying to hurt when he did punch. He was loading up. All right, it was very raw. It was sloppy at times, a lot to learn. But fucking hell, at least he showed heart and balls. And there was a bit, I was going to send you the footage and I forgot. Conor Ben was watching Harlem Eubank's glove wraps. I don't know if you saw this. He was in the dressing room and he was watching him, and he come out and he went, he's on the wobble, mate. His bum's gone, basically. He was saying
really?
Jack Catterall, like he's not having it. He's on the wobble.
He was right. Because it was like you know how Johnny Fisher was running around like he's too scared and too busy, like and nervous energy. You're wasting energy because you're scared. You're running around. But he was doing it. He was like he'd stand there doing that pouring shit, not land anything or throw anything, get hit with a right hand, and then run away, and then come back and do it again, not land. Run away, and then he was jumping in, leaping in like an idiot, and it was terrible. And
the problem is now, so to bring this up to date before we sort of round off, because I've got a couple of questions for you, sort of on the last segment.
Oh, and obviously that performance prompted Turki Al-Sheikh. This is not Tom and Jerry. This is Jerry and Jerry. This isn't boxing I'm watching.
Yeah. There you go. If Tom and Jerry weren't bad enough, now we got Jerry and Jerry.
It is boxing, but it's shit boxing.
If you like what we're talking about, if you like the cut of our jib, and this is the sort of content we're putting out,
like and subscribe, guys. Like and subscribe. Share. Beware.
See you on the next one.
See you on the next one. Love you guys. Boom, boom.